Tommy, what is a required minimum distribution?
Required minimum distribution is an amount, it's a calculation that is required to be taken out of your, typically your retirement accounts. Most often the pre-tax portion of those, your IRAs, your 401ks, your 403bs, TSPs, the portion of that, they have said you took a tax deduction going in, it has grown for how long it's been in there, and at the age you have to start those, they say here's a percentage you have to take each year, and that percentage grows.
The older we
age.
get.
Yes.
Right. The older we get. Okay. So let's just say you go, you know what? I don't want to take my RMD. The government's pretty nice to you. I'm kidding.
They've gotten a little bit nicer.
They've gotten a little bit nicer. That's
yes,
true.
They used to be, prior to the passing of the Secure Act, the penalty was 50%. Now, if you miss that RMD, the penalty is 25%. You correct it in what they determine to be a timely manner, that can go down to 10%. But in any shape, it's extra taxes or extra penalty paid on that amount. So plan for it and get it taken care of.
Yeah, they're real nice. So the point is, take your RMD because we don't want you getting penalized. I mean, we kind of already talked about this, but what accounts specifically are tied to the RMDs? I mean, there's some caveats if you're still working and contributing to a 401k, but again, Tommy, many people are in, maybe contributing to a different plan, whether it's a 401k, a 403b, a 401a, a 457, TSP if you're a federal employee. I mean, those accounts can be subject to the RMD.
Yeah, it's most often you will look at your account and see if you are doing the pre-tax or the after-tax and Roth. So RMDs tend to apply to the pre-tax portion of those accounts.
Well, that leads my next question. Are Roth subject to an RMD, the Roth IRA?
Generally, no.
Generally,
unless
it's not just a no.
It's not a no. If you own it outright, it is a no. If you have inherited it, they may apply.
That was pretty well said. Okay. Well, the point is, make sure you talk to a professional in terms of how that Roth is. Are you the one that made those contributions, right? So then the answer would be no. But if you inherited it, it could be yes, right? But the beauty with it though is it can. Again, I can't be resolute here in terms of a concrete answer because there's rules with Roth IRAs in terms of is it a tax-free vehicle for you or not?
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's stay on inherited IRAs, and so they changed the law on us. With the original Secure Act, is an inherited IRA or inherited beneficiary IRA subject to RMDs?
Yeah, significant changes were made, and these are the traditional or the pre-tax assets. But there are kind of carve-outs for a select few beneficiaries, but in general, prior to the Secure Act passing, so an individual who passed away in 2019 or earlier and you inherited the account, you had the lifetime stretch option where you could take an annual RMD.
Right.
Starting in 2020, and if the person passed, January 1st, 2020 or later, then it tends to fall under the 10-year rule.
The 10-year rule where it has to be depleted over 10 years.
The account has to be depleted in 10 years, yep.
Right. I mean, it's important that our viewers make sure they understand that because, they could potentially be grandfathered in if they received that inheritance prior to that year.
Yep.
So the stretch IRA, Tommy, was a big deal. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was a great way to stretch, create generational wealth. But of course, they had to change that. Okay, so who are designated beneficiaries when it comes to this? Yeah,
so what they consider eligible designated beneficiaries are those who do not have to use the 10-year rule for inherited accounts where the decedent passed 2020 or later. So those individuals are the surviving spouse, minor children up to the age of majority, disabled, chronically ill, or individuals no more than 10 years younger. So that could be a sibling that's a couple of years younger or friend similar age. Do not have or have options outside of the 10-year withdrawal window.
Sure. Well, you know what? Let's also talk about how the RMD is calculated. I mean, let's just simplify it for people. So the year that you attain, again, it's not that where, for example, it used to be 70 and a half, right? And so you had until April 1st the following year to take a required minimum distribution. I mean, but that was a bad deal because you could potentially have to take 2 out, which could then pop you into a higher tax bracket, which is what we don't want. But But now it's the year that you turn that age in terms of a required minimum distribution. How much do we have to take out?
They have a calculation table out there. The percentage grows each year, but your first one at 73 is about 3.77%.
Yeah.
75 is just over 4%. It gets close to 5% at 80 and close to 8% at 90. So that percentage increases each year.
Yep.
And if your account is invested or it's growing, that's where you tend to get a higher percentage on a larger dollar amount. That's where that RMD kind of time bomb can kick in.
And that's exactly right. And that's what we're looking for, because again, the first RMD, when people have to take it out, it's not, I mean, it's under 4%. I mean, it doesn't sound that bad. But the older we get, that percent goes up, like you mentioned. And hopefully your accounts better be growing, right? Which then becomes that tax bomb. And again, that's where planning, we'll talk about that as we move through the episode, but that's important. Okay, let's talk about this. Can I take more than the required minimum distribution amount that I'm forced to take?
Well, you said it right there. That is the required minimum distribution. So that's the minimum amount you have to take.
Yep.
You do have access to your full account balance if you would like it.
Yeah.
But it is not something where you can take more in 1 year and apply it to your RMD for the following year. The RMD is an annual requirement. If you take more, it still resets and there's a new RMD for the following year.
That's right. And now, one thing that we do talk about with this is the required minimum distribution. So that required minimum that you have to take out, that can't be converted to a Roth, period. I mean, that's why we try to catch people prior to that age to do that pre-planning, right? But you still could do Roth conversions after the fact, but you have to take that required minimum distribution first.
Yeah, and we'll get into options later if you want to kind of minimize the impact of RMDs, but you have a qualified charitable distribution available to you to minimize the income.
That's a fun thing, yeah.
The income associated with your RMD. But yes, the RMD has to come out of that pre-tax account. It cannot go into a Roth. It could be reinvested into a non-qualified account. But cannot stay in the tax-deferred accounts.
Cannot stay in tax. Okay, well, now let's talk about taxes. Again, this question comes up as well. We are paying tax on this required minimum distribution. It depends on your tax situation, but most of the time the answer is yes. But it's taxed as ordinary income when it comes to the required minimum distribution.
If you are taking it and not doing a charitable distribution, for instance, that amount will be fully reportable. You calculate it at your own tax rate and determine your tax liability on that amount.
That's right. That's right. Now, in the last one, again, I mean, these are all Q&As. I mean, a lot of questions that clients ask us. And so we wanted to bring these questions right away when it comes to this, to help you understand the required minimum distributions. But again, I just mentioned it, right? So when you're that age and that required minimum you have to take, it can't go Roth, right? So what are your options? You already mentioned it. You could gift it. You stick it in the bank, or what do most people do, Tommy?
Reinvest it.
They reinvest it, right? And that goes into a brokerage account, but then that caused that windshield wiper effect, right? Capital gains, dividends, you name it. When you make money, you pay taxes. You make money, you pay taxes.